Mastercard is basically a tech company. Okay, any payments which is manual, cash centric, Mastercard's goal is to convert that onto a digital platform. The future, technological costs, the difference between them is going to reduce. The real competition is going to be around what value am I getting. So every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you're using your Carrefour app, it's up to 20% off there. Any spend of 5,000 shillings will yield a 1,000 shilling discount.
Wow. So every weekend you need to be shopping?
Yeah. And if you have multiple Mastercards, then all the power to you. Because you can get...
You need to unleash the power.
So as long as you have a Mastercard, use it.
Good evening and welcome to the Late Night Business. My name is Ian Dennis, and tonight we have a very interesting show lined up because you're going to explore one of the key particular areas within our particular fintech ecosystem. And with me, I have with me a guest who's actually a big player in this particular ecosystem of fintech. And before I get to introduce my guest, I'd like to let you know that you're here at the Capital Club. That's a place you need to be as an entrepreneur, because at the Capital Club, we actually get to meet such guests right here. The gentleman I'm speaking about is Shehryar Ali, who is the Senior Vice President and the Country Manager for East Africa and Indian Ocean Islands at Mastercard. So we just want to find out what exactly is the role that Mastercard is playing in digital transformation, some of the partnerships that are actually put into place, and just break down in terms of their role within this particular ecosystem. Shehryar, I hope I didn't massacre your name. I got it right.
Perfect. Spot on.
Nice to see you. The first question I like asking every guest before any particular conversation: what exactly are you most grateful for today?
For today?
Yes.
Today I woke up and had a very successful school drop-off with my kids. I've got 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. So a day where they're going in happy, and so that gives me a lot of fulfillment. So yeah, that's what made my day.
Interesting. Yeah. So every day you drop your children to school?
Yes.
Oh,
in the morning. That's my 20 minutes of dedicated drop-off time.
Every morning?
Yes.
And then just a day before us filming this was the first tree planting day in the country. Yes. I don't know how exactly, as Mastercard, how many trees did you plant?
Well, I could say that my father-in-law is visiting me right now, and he is a farmer. So we really got our share of diversity in terms of the trees that we needed to plant at our house. But really what gives me a lot of pride is that Mastercard is championing this with our site in Makwini. And we have room for 1 million trees to be planted there. And we have reached about 300K. We've got another 700K to go. So yeah, we're marching ahead. Not alone, with our partners. Yes.
Interesting. And how significant is it for you with regards to this particular initiative, more so coming at a point whereby you're trying to fight off the carbon emissions and try and enable us, get into a point whereby the carbon emissions can be low? How important is this particular initiative?
Ian, that's a very good and deep question. Just look into the eyes of your children, upcoming generation, Gen Alpha and Gen Z, and you see that what is the world that you're going to leave behind for them, and that moment when you see in their eyes and you see what is coming ahead, if we are not conscious now on sustainability and ensuring that carbon emissions are reined in, and we also give empowerment to them to control their environmental future. That is critical. So with our, carbon calculator that we've got out, it's an amazing API. Just layer it on your mobile banking app, any bank, or any telco or any fintech. Just layer it there. When you use your payment tool, which is your phone or your card, you can easily track what your CO2 emission is for that month.
Interesting. And how does one do that?
So it's very nice and easy, and we have signed it up already in East Africa. So we're really excited, but also we believe that it empowers the end customer. So if you have a mobile bank, let's say you bank with X Bank, right? Yeah. And they have a mobile banking app. All we do is we layer an API called the Carbon Calculator app. It's in partnership with Economy in the Nordics. We've come together with this algorithm and the tech, whereby you can say that, let's say if you travel by car, so you pay with using your card for your transportation, which is fuel heavy.
Yes.
Now what we do is that we assign the CO2 emission that you are actually generating on the back of that transaction. So at the end of the month, you'll see, so I have my CO2 imprint looking like this, and I need to offset it by planting 3 trees. Guess what? Again, use your Mastercard, pay for those trees. McQueeney County is waiting for you, the site in McQueeney, to plant the trees, working closely with Conservation International, which is our partner on ground.
That's very, very interesting. And so let's just start off now the conversation. Mastercard, right? So many of us have already interacted with the brand. Many of us have actually seen it more so in our ATM cards. And primarily, when in the back of many people, even including myself, before I started doing my research around this, is that you always presume Mastercard was it's literally a brand that's partnering with different particular banks, but it's more than that. Mastercard does more than that. Maybe you can just break down to us, what does Mastercard do, and primarily why does it play in this particular ecosystem?
Sure. So Mastercard has in the name, it's a card.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's where people get thrown off. But then I'd like to clarify that what's in a name. Apple is not a fruit store.
True.
It's a tech company.
Yeah.
One of the largest ones. Amazon is not like a shop by the river in Brazil, right? So if Mastercard is thought of in a myopic view that it's just a cards company, I think that'll be a gross injustice. And Mastercard is basically a tech company. Okay, any payments flow, which is manual, cash centric, Mastercard's goal is to convert that onto a digital platform. Now, whether that's a card, whether that's an account-to-account payment, whether that's a gateway-based payment, whether that's blockchain, crypto, or any other, we are diversifying ourselves to cater for all. We believe strongly in the power of partnerships. So that's why you'll see us working with governments, with telcos, with fintechs, with FIs, with merchants, and the list is growing. So I think we take a lot of pride in the fact that we're not looking and fixated on one particular form factor. We are actually looking at diversifying it. We are a network, strong network, globally, 85 million plus merchants globally connected to Mastercard. So when you go out there and you travel the world, you have that confidence at the fact that, yes, if I have a Mastercard in my pocket, I can go and it'll get accepted. So that's the trust, security, confidence that we want to embed, and we disrupt ourselves and reinvent ourselves from time to time. And the last 10 years have been phenomenal in terms of how we have restructured ourselves.
Interesting. Speaking about restructuring, maybe you can also just shed a light in terms of how exactly you restructured yourself to fit in this particular digital ecosystem, because you've mentioned the aspect of how the financial institution have actually changed over the last period. You've mentioned cryptocurrency have actually come up. Blockchain is now becoming a point of significance. Maybe you can just take us through that particular revolution.
Sure. So, look, it's about the world changing around you. Right? When we sit in Mastercard and we think not just of this year, we think of the next 10 years, the next 20 years, the next 30 years. What are the trends we're seeing? And who will tell you the trends? The trends will be told to you by the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas.
True.
Who are your customers for the future?
Yeah.
If I design a product for you and me today, we're not designing for
the future
of commerce, right? And we're both young, so I'll put that disclaimer. but to be honest, we need to look at what is the Gen Z experiencing. So let's say at the age of 13, a Gen Z gets a phone.
Yeah.
Gen Alpha, which runs all the way up to the age of 13, might be getting a phone or a technology, let's say a technology of sorts, by the age of maybe even 10, 11. Which is scary in itself, but that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's the world we're in.
Now, if that's happening, what are the behaviors on the back of that form factor? Because you see, this is a smartphone. It opens the world to you.
Yeah.
Social media, politics, thought formation, payments, insurance, banking, everything is pegged in there. So then the question is, what is the expectation of that person?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, my kids, they have used more virtual currencies since they've been born than cash.
All right.
Because they play games like Fortnite and Pokemon Go and all of these, and they have their own virtual currencies. So you think, okay, if that's the case, then they will be very easily adopting cryptos, virtual currencies, blockchain. They will not have the hang-ups or the fears that perhaps we have.
True.
Out of just really being cautious. We're very cautious about new technologies, right?
Yeah, we're used to the physical money or maybe just the banking system, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we get our inspiration from. And then we say, okay, let's start planning. For example, AI is the next big thing.
True.
Ian, today, let's say you are in your mid-20s. You look younger, but that's let's say if I park you there.
Yeah.
And I say, Ian, you've got a certain profile which you have chosen to share with service providers. So data integrity and privacy is very important.
True.
But if you choose to share certain information about yourself, what does generative AI do with that information to then contextualize the offers that come to you?
True.
Right? So if you're in that age in your life where you are looking for a mortgage, well, is Gen AI working for you and bringing you those offers whilst you reach that point of convergence?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the future. And that's how Mastercard is looking at AI coming into play, machine learning coming into play. How about ubiquity? So that one platform should be able to give you all the services that you need.
Interesting. And also earlier on, you'd also mentioned the aspect of some of the partnerships that you've actually done into place. I've been seeing actually on YouTube every time the partnership that you have with Magical Kenya, and you're also going to get into that. But maybe let me start off with the aspect of your partnership with government. And I know you're working with the government. Probably you can just break it down to us. What exactly is this particular partnership and how exactly is it instrumental to our economy?
We need to be cognizant of our reality as responsible corporate citizens. And we need to reach out to the government and say, where can we help? For example, Kenya Tourism Board, fantastic partnership we have with them. We have said that your goal, which is decided by KTB, is to bring in 5 million tourists. Today, it's 2.
Yeah.
Now, a city like Paris enjoys 90 million tourists a year. Ian, you tell me, the kind of natural power, beauty, landscapes, things you can do in Kenya that Kenya holds versus
Paris.
Versus Paris. I'm not being unfair to Paris. I love Paris, love Eiffel Tower, love all of that. But
True.
look at the disparity. 90 million tourists a year, 2 million tourists a year. And it's not just about the fact that you've got the bush and the beach and all the other great stuff, but it's also about capacity building. So Mastercard has really understood that well, and that's why we entered into a partnership with Kenya Tourism Board, and we said, okay, how do we create enough noise in the right corridors to attract that tourist to move from maybe a European destination and come to a beautiful weather, lovely nature in Kenya. Enjoy the culture, enjoy the history, and enjoy the wildlife. So that's what we're trying to do. Now, next time when you go to Jomo Kenyatta Airport, there will be a bus that'll take you to your plane or take you from your plane. That'll be a Mastercard priceless bus working closely again with Magical Kenya. We have got a host of other assets that are already live. For example, we have a hotel platform today which gives you access to 1,600 hotels. Most of the hotels in Kenya are there. Up to 30% discount. Anybody globally using a Mastercard coming into Kenya, get that discount.
Interesting. So long as someone holds Mastercard can actually get this particular access and this particular benefits.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
It's not just limited to Kenya again. It's got Tanzania, Kenya, Mauritius, a host of other countries. So it's like a growing platform where you get value with your card. And value is something that is becoming very important as we go along, and I'll share a little bit more of what Mastercard's doing on that. But coming back to government, public-private partnership, I think it's critical to be clear on the pain points for the government. It's critical to align your strategy to solve for that and evaluate what's working, what's not working. What's not working, you have to re-engineer and go back. Right? So, for example, we do have the sailing boats on the Mombasa side, branded price list by Mastercard, so you can see that. There's another surprise that's about to come up, but I'll hold that for our next interview.
Interesting. And besides government, also merchants form a very significant role within the ecosystem. Primarily, how exactly do you work with merchants, and what exactly is the problem that you're trying to solve within this particular area that's being faced by merchants?
That's a superbly important and critical question, Ian. Because, look, SMEs are the backbone of any economy.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And let's segment the merchants in a pyramid. So you'll have the top end, which is the large merchants, right? And they don't have any shortage of options. Everything will be available there for your acceptance and digitalization. But now if I go to the Momboga or a farmer, or so at the base of the pyramid or somewhere even in the middle of that pyramid, we see gaps. There is lack of digitalization. Even if there is digitalization, what ends up happening is that if let's say you're using mobile money, right? Are you using mobile money as a business, or are you using it from your personal to personal account payments, right? And I'll tell you the difference there. a SME does not enjoy big yields, right? So they are looking for low-cost, uncollateralized credit to grow their business,
True.
improve their cash flows.
Yeah.
Right? So for them, it is important that the bank underwriting their limit or the telco underwriting their limit sees the business flow. Once they see the business flow, they can say, okay, dear sir, ma'am, based on your last 6 months or last 12 months of record,
Yeah.
it's digitized, so great, you gave us the data points. But now, given your good behavior, we will be giving you a low-cost credit limit with no collateral.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Unfortunately, look at it today, we've got an issue. We ask for collaterals, and if we don't ask for collaterals, we'll give you such a high interest rate that you'll get scared.
Yeah, and the interest rates are becoming higher and higher by the day.
Yes. So that's where Mastercard comes in and says, okay, let's take the pain point from the yield away. So let's say if you accept mobile money, cards, how about we give you a QR? 0% interchange. Take the merchant discount rate which the merchant has to pay to near negligible. Right? It's not zero, but near negligible. And in that case, the merchant will say, great, I can now accept globally all customers coming in to me. I'm a small shop, but they can use their form factor to pay me. So I think that opening up does two things. One, it gives the merchant the confidence that I'm not paying too much for this digital service.
True, because that's a significant expense for any particular merchant, yes.
Secondly, the country, which is today has low forex reserves, opens up an avenue at every level of the merchant segmentation to accept a foreign customer coming in and making a payment.
True.
So that is important, and I think that's the role Mastercard is championing. Again, not alone, taking a lot of our partners with us. As you know, CBK, Central Bank of Kenya has done a fantastic job of putting all the partners together to design the standards for the Kenya QR.
Interesting. Maybe just break it down to us, especially to the audience who don't understand how the QR works. Maybe just elaborate to us further. How exactly can the merchant be able to utilize this particular QR, and how exactly how is it helping them in terms of what was it called, the benefit that they can actually get to experience, and also for their customers get to experience.
So you see, form factors come with their costs. Yeah. Let me first break the misnomer around cash being free. Sorry, cash is not free.
True.
Kenya, but let's say with $100 billion of GDP, 2 to 3% of that is actually being paid as cost to manage cash. Production, securitization, transportation, distribution. It's not free. This country is paying a lot of money. Now imagine if $2 billion or $3 billion could be saved. Remember, the Eurobond payment for next is $2 billion, right? So if we moved away from cash onto a digital form factor, it would help. Okay. Now, let's come to form factor, because you asked me about QR. We have the conventional form factor, which is a machine. You have used it.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have something called tap on phone, which we have recently rolled out. Yeah. Amazing functionality.
But how is it actually working within the East Africa? Because it's something interesting. I traveled the other day. I was like, outside the country, it's a norm. In Kenya, tap to pay hasn't yet literally picked up. Why exactly is that?
I think it all is embedded in interoperability and standardization. So basically, if you standardize for everyone a particular flow or user experience, for example, for tap to pay. If I as bank A set the limit for tap to pay at 10,000 shillings and you as bank B set it at 5,000, whose confidence are you hurting? The customer.
Yes.
Because the customer now is not sure that this thing works on both those merchants in the same way, because they've got two different machines. Yeah. So we need to have uniformity, right? And that's where I want to again thank Central Bank of Kenya, because they've done exactly that. They have come out and said, okay, 4,000 to 5,000 shillings transactions, contactless, go ahead. Now, if we go from the middle segment of the merchants down to the base of the pyramid, now what's the big pain point? Can I afford a $300 POS machine?
No.
First question.
No.
Yeah. Am I comfortable with using my Android phone for accepting payments? Maybe yes, maybe no. We don't know. Yeah. But if I don't even like the commercials around that, can I now use a sticker, which is a QR? Yeah. Right? No cost. Zero cost. It's a sticker. Print it out from your computer, plug it there.
Oh,
right?
all right.
So firstly, the form factor itself is super light.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's standardized by Central Bank of Kenya as per the Kenya QR. Thirdly, Mastercard has allotted slots in there for both QR payments straight at 0% interchange. Now, an acquiring bank might come in and apply a certain small marginal fee there, but 0% interchange is what will take the rate down. Secondly, if a foreigner comes in and they have a phone and their card is in their wallet, right, on that phone, they can simply scan that QR and a web page will open. And on that web page, that card will be filled, expiry, everything. And suddenly what happens? A foreigner is paying to a mamamboga, a small shop, a farmer, wherever they need to, seamlessly. It's all about seamless payments and low cost. So that's what Mastercard is striving really hard to achieve. Because between you and me, Ian, and of course our audience now, acceptance, Safaricom, credit to them, they've done a great job in taking the number of acceptance points in Kenya to more than or approximately 1 million. Great, again, credit to Dr. Mwangi and his vision and equity for rolling out Equity Till 1, and I think they are both neck and neck if Equitel is not running a little bit higher now. So what is that the reason why merchants are adopting these payments? Because they have to be seamless, cheap, right? Still enable digitalization, still enable reconciliation reports for them, which should be easy, right?
Also, everything is embedded within. So once, what's it called? You're connected to the QR on the back end, you can actually see all your transactions, it can give you reports and all that.
So any digital payment gives you that capability. Cash does it as well, but that's partial because you have to manually enter, right, for your transaction. But digital payments give you 100% guarantee that your data is stored somewhere for you to use and reconcile, right? And now, data is the money of the future, right? So I think that's where merchants, corporates, everybody needs to invest. That when we talk AI, it's not in space. AI is fully baked on data. You've used ChatGPT?
Yeah.
ChatGPT. So I was in Pennsylvania, UPenn, 2 weeks ago on an executive course. I was talking to one of the professors at Wharton, and he said, we encourage our students to use ChatGPT. We tell them if you don't use ChatGPT, chances are you won't make it even in the course. So what is happening? AI is being adopted. Now, when we look at our ecosystem in payments, and the question that is still left unanswered is how much of data in AI are we using? I believe it's very low.
Interesting. All right, and we're going to take a short commercial break, and then we'll be back and just get to explore how exactly some of the transformation that Mastercard have actually done within the fintech ecosystem. So I'll see you after the break. So welcome back to the show. Before we went on a break, we're just having this particular understanding in terms of how Mastercard is actually literally taking on board some of these particular technologies. We're discussing about AI, we're discussing about data and how important data is. We had also talked about some of the partnerships that you've actually gotten, and you're talking about with Equity Bank. And I know there's a partnership you're establishing. Probably you can just elaborate to us how this particular partnership is going to roll out, and how exactly do you envision in terms of some of these particular new partnerships that Mastercard is bringing on board.
Thank you. And the thing is, there are strategic imperatives, and certain partners of ours have that vision. So credit to Honorable Dr. Mwangi for his vision, Africa Recovery and Resilience Plan, that I think it's publicly available document, anybody can read it. The idea is to take East and Central Africa and connect it in a way that has never been done before. Kenya being the home ground, but the idea is to capture the trade flows between the different countries. Right? Now within Kenya, our partnership as per the ARRP is conjoined to deliver high rates of digitalization, acceptance proliferation, remittances, so that there could be very easy payments from between countries, between accounts. There's the talk around e-commerce, how to take it to the next level, embed it embedded e-commerce, for merchants, for corporates, commercial flows. How do we use the gateway? And the list goes on. You know, what is the Gen Z customer looking for? If I get introduced to a phone as my first form factor, well then can I have my payment tools all stored there? And the answer is yes. You know? So I think with Mastercard's technology stack, working with equity, we will be creating some new examples in the market on how to do and adopt all of these technologies in a leaner, more efficient, smarter, ubiquitous way. And that's really what we are focusing on. So you'll be seeing a lot more exciting initiatives coming out. I think you may have seen something recently around our engagement and campaign with Carrefour.
Yeah.
So right now, on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday, if you go and you use your Mastercard there, you get a 20% discount on your shopping. Now, taxes are going up, inflation is there.
At least.
You know, I know I'll use mine, but I think
it's very important to save.
Correct. So you know, so it's that value proposition, and this is my gut feel that going forward, the future, technological costs, the difference between them is going to reduce. The real competition is going to be around what value am I getting from a particular merchant, from a particular payment tool, from a particular segment. And I think that's where all us corporate citizens need to be looking at how to give value back to our end customer. You know, so for example, today we've talked about Carrefour. Again, Equity Group is part of that campaign. Then we have got a deal going on with Glovo. So you know, if from our audience, majority of them would be using some kind of a payment platform. It could be Glovo and so on, others and so on. But Glovo, for example, is giving free deliveries when you use your Mastercard. So now there's a reason, right? Beyond just the convenience and ease and security and trust, there's a reason. So I think that's the kind of competition we want to see in the market, in which case, who wins? The merchant wins because they get more business. The customer wins because they get better user experience and value.
You're exciting me because I think you're at a point whereby every particular shilling matters. So you've mentioned, what's it called, the particular promotion that's going on with Carrefour. For how long is that particular promotion?
So this is the first of many promotions we'll be doing. So this one is valid until 7th of January. So every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you're using your Carrefour app, it's up to 20% off there.
Up to, so meaning you can actually get...
So here's the deal. Let me break it down for you. So any spend of 5,000 shillings will yield a 1,000 shilling discount.
Wow.
So 5,000, 1,000 is a discount. So that's the thing. Now, it's one discounted, let's say, value add per customer. So for that weekend. Then the next weekend is again a refresh. Then you try it.
So every weekend you need to be shopping.
Yeah. And if you have multiple Mastercards, then all the power to you, because you can get.
You need to unleash the power.
So
the power of saving. So I think you need to get 2 cards, and then at least when you go shopping, so for every 5,000 you get 1,000 off.
1,000 off.
Interesting.
And this is online using the. Now, if you go to the store.
Oh, that's itself, online.
That's online.
All right.
But now, if you go to the store, again, you get 10% off. Credited on your physical shopping onto your My Club points wallet, right? So there's value on both. Online, you get 20. In store, you get 10.
That's interesting.
And hey, it's a high peak spend season. Still, the net disposable income is reducing. I would say everybody benefit from these offers, which is just the beginning. We're going to have a whole lineup throughout the year that we're going to surprise you with.
Interesting. And for Glovo?
So Glovo, again, that's a core value proposition, which means that it's not limited to a certain end date here. We are actually giving you 2 free monthly deliveries every month going forward. So as long as you have a Mastercard, use it.
Interesting. So being in charge of the East Africa and then Indian Ocean Islands, and you've observed all this particular market, how would you rank Kenya in comparison to other markets in terms of our acceptance for digital payment and also in terms of our level in terms of the fintech ecosystem?
I think Kenya is quite advanced. And I think credit where it's due. The Kenyan government, Safaricom, I think they've done a fantastic job. It's a model for the world to follow when it comes to mobile money. So I think kudos to the visionaries who actually led from the front and actually set an example for the world. Having said that, are there inefficiencies in the system? Are there exclusions? Is there a need for us to make digital solutions not just commercially viable, but also give a good user experience? Why should a mobile money payment at a store have a much longer line than a tap on phone user experience, for example? You know, why should a SME, to avoid taxation, use a mobile money P2P payment instead of having a mobile money business account? So we can see the problems as well. As the digitization has flourished, we can see the problem. And the good thing is, if you see it, you accept it, you put like-minded partners together to solve for it, and the magic happens. So that's what we need to do for Kenya. But in terms of ranking compared to all the other countries, Kenya has really put the flag in the ground, and others are following, and following at pace. But you can never sit on your laurels and be comfortable, because the world's just changing too fast.
Interesting. And also something that I came across is some of the studies that you guys have, as Mastercard, you've actually taken and actually have very interesting results. There's one I came across, the Mastercard SME Index, whereby I found out that 97% believe easy access to financial services and credit funding will ease business. So what is the role of Mastercard playing towards this become a reality? Because that's primarily one of the things that you've realized from your study, whereby there's this particular demand from the merchants and the SME. So what exactly is the role that you're playing, especially in terms of getting easy access to credit?
Yeah. So I think this again points to a very important pain point right now. You know, what is easy access to credit? If you go to a bank today,
It's
right, list of documents, 7 or 8 documents. Okay, show me your income. Okay, income. Okay, I'm happy with that. Where's the collateral? You know. And suddenly by the end of it, the user experience is such that you as a customer don't feel that it's easy for me to access credit. You know, or even if you have been successful to access credit, you feel like, this user experience was not optimal for me.
True,
I don't think the service provider knew me well enough, right? So what is the knew me well enough? What if you go under that? It's about data. How was data consumed for underwriting that particular SME? You know, now if that SME is fully on cash, then it's very difficult because banks don't recognize informal ledgers. If I take a piece of paper and I write, I did so many transactions, you as a bank will probably show me the door. But if I have a digital platform in which I am actually recording my ledger, my records are there, and it shows my cash flows, it shows my suppliers, it shows my distributors. Now I'm talking business, because I can take that to a bank or any other lender and say, okay, based on this, can you underwrite me a non-collateralized low-cost loan? Right? Because I want to grow my business by adding another store or by diversifying my business line. So I think those are the conversations that we need to evolve towards, where SMEs have full confidence going to a lender saying, hey, I've got this digitized, check it as you like, but I would like a loan that is easy to access.
And what inroads have you taken as Mastercard to ensure that this becomes a reality? Because you understand where we are, whereby right now it's very difficult, especially for SMEs, to get access to credit and all these particular challenges that you've also raised, whereby it's extremely difficult. What inroads or what partnerships are in the works primarily to enable this become a reality?
Yeah. So I think in our case, we have been lucky because we have been surrounded by like-minded partners. And it's not a pain point of Mastercard's realization. It's a pain point that everybody has realized.
True.
Right? So it's all about us coming together and saying, okay, for example, we launched a program called Jazaduka. Again, base of the pyramid, working with KCB, working with Coral Action BV, a fintech, working with Unilever. Now, Unilever has about 80,000 points of distribution. Right? So all those points are the small shops. Right? Now, if I'm buying tissues from Unilever and a host of other toothpaste, whatever it is. Now, if I have to use my own cash to buy the next time a van of Unilever comes to my shop, I'm not really, I don't have the ease, because then I'm dependent on exactly how much cash I have.
True.
Now, if you replace that cash with a credit line, which KCB has a line of sight to, and they have seen that, yes, this shop, 6 months, good behavior, this is the cash flow, this is the turnover, okay, let's give them a line of $10,000 or $1,000 or whatever it is. And now I pay that Unilever van with that credit line, suddenly I have my cash flow freed up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a short-term credit at a lower cost, and therefore it works. So it's not even about the fact that we're just starting on this journey. We're already on this journey. It's just that we have to come out with those use cases, which enable a healthy credit environment. Now, we're not benign to the risks as well. If you have not a healthy collections infrastructure, because these loans can go bad, right?
True.
So you need to have a collections infrastructure which is, again, a market-wide initiative. It has to be everybody coming together, right? So the regulator has a role to play, the government has a role to play, everybody.
True.
So I think that's the kind of infrastructure built for credit that we need to enable healthy lending for SMEs. So still some distance to go there, Ian, to be honest. But I think we're on the right track and everybody's thinking about these pain points.
Interesting. And also something, because I'm always very interested in terms of research and studies, because research and studies usually give a particular, pain point, and actually just shows what exactly is happening in the market. One of the particular studies that you did was also on the small farm dairy study, whereby it showed that only 60% of farms have access to bank accounts. So how detrimental is this towards establishing a digital economy? Because you're speaking about the pain points that most SMEs are actually facing by accessing credit, but it's very interesting that this insight, only 60% have access to bank accounts.
Correct.
How, maybe just take us through in terms of this study, why exactly is that?
Sure. Farmers, very unique segment. Right, for us to firstly for us to understand, then do justice to it, right? So let's understand. A farmer wakes up in the morning, needs the inputs, right? So the supply, so it could be the seeds, fertilizer, whatever else. Right? Can a farmer today order that over a phone, make the payment over the phone? And we're not talking smartphones here, feature phones are just
it's feature
as
phones,
important, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, can the farmer do that? And once the produce has come up and it's ready for sale, does the farmer have access to marketplace or not? Can they sell it at a competitive price? And that's where Mastercard has played a really critical role, because we've rolled out Farm Pass, which today is live with, even in Kenya, 750,000 farmers. We're trying to breach the 1 million mark this year. And in all of Africa, it's about 2.4 million farmers who are using it. Whereby,
that's interesting,
again, an offline method, you could still
using a feature phone.
Feature phone. So you order your supplier. There is an infrastructure that's needed. So as a Farm Pass officer or Farm Pass agent who supports that farmer to get the supplies from the points where they need, like seeds and fertilizer, whatever, gets that to the farmer. The farmer then uses them, and then when the time is right for marketplace, the farmer gets the best price quoted on that phone
for the market.
Correct. And the Farm Pass officer again supports in the delivery of that.
All right, that's very interesting. So in Kenya, is it already active?
Yes. That's why it's got 750,000 customers that are, or farmers who are using it. And we have worked closely with Cooperative Bank of Kenya in that regard, and a few others, partners as well, so that there is an ecosystem which we test, learn, again, tweak, fix, then test, learn, and so it's a cycle.
Interesting.
Right?
So they access it through a USSD code? Or how exactly, what's the USSD code?
So I don't have the USSD code right now on me, but yes, it is done through a USSD code whereby they can order. Actually, USSD code is more for the payment.
Oh, for the payment,
yeah,
all right.
Because there is, there's a Farm Pass officer play there, where a Farm Pass officer actually plays a role to support the farmer. So there's those two levels, but payment is happening through both USSD and smartphone enablement is anyways.
Interesting. And from this particular conversation, I'm seeing so many different levels that Mastercard is playing, not only from the farmers, with the merchants, with the government. What exactly is the vision that, as Mastercard, you hold, for the fintech ecosystem?
Yeah. So fintechs are real disruptors, and it's such a fresh breath of air because it's questioning everything as a service. Finance as a service, fraud as a service, data as a service, you name it as a service. They're coming, insurance as a service, education as a service. It's like the list and the menu set is so broad that we are really invested in helping fintechs come up the curve. Earlier this year, we signed a partnership agreement with Diamond Trust Bank on launching a fintech factory. You may have heard of the word Astra. Mastercard is fully backing that particular service offering for fintechs. Now, what does a fintech need? Let's say a fintech comes to a bank and says, okay, yes, I need the commercial side of supporting my business, but then I also need finance as a service embedded into my APIs and my business model, right? Then everything from billing, data analytics, reports, raising funding for my business. How can a bank support me? So beyond the Diamond Trust Bank FinTech Factory, which is a powerful platform for fintechs to plug into to enable at least tokenization and card-based payments. There is Mastercard's own StartPath program where we have crossed about 500 to 600 in Kenya fintechs in terms of helping them in one way or the other. Either it's connecting them to VCs to raise capital, or it's supporting them with connecting them to an FI or a telco so that they are able to utilize a virtual card to offer to their customers. And the list is just growing by the day. So GapStack, SMEs, they have a need for trade operating platforms. So if I'm an SME and I want to pay a supplier in China, right, to get the goods in, now, do I have today one ubiquitous trade operating platform? I think they're few and far between. Right? So GapStack is another amazing company utilizing machine learning and AI. They are actually coming.
It's a Kenyan company?
Yes, it's a fintech.
Yeah,
and they're coming out with a model where you could actually do, everything in terms of your supplier enlisting, your distributor enlisting, trade operating platform, getting that operational. So I think these models, and this is just an example, right? We have done a partnership with Lipa Later. You may have seen.
Yes,
again,
I know Lipa Later. Yes.
So Lipa Later is a very well-known, famous company here. Now, with Lipa Later, we have entered into a tokenization play, whereby you could actually have a card layered on top of your Lipa Later app, and as you get your installments, that card could be used to make the payments and the purchases. So it's about giving options to the end customers, working with the fintechs who are critical for our ecosystem to diversify and grow.
Interesting. And so you mentioned also about the StartPath, which is something very, very interesting, because I'm sure Kenya, we're in an economy where we have so many different entrepreneurs, and fintech is one of the areas, as you've mentioned, that most entrepreneurs are looking into. How does one become part of that particular program, and how are they able to benefit from that particular program?
So StartPath is a totally separate vertical within Mastercard. And if you, as a fintech, are looking for, again, support by accessing our network, because what are we? We are a network of networks, right? We connect you to governments, to merchants, to fintechs, to FIs, to, the list goes on, telcos. So I think what we do is, firstly, we offer you that network. So let's say you come up with a great idea. We believe that we can help you connect the dots better. So we'll connect the dots better by bringing in those relevant network partners who are like-minded and what that, it fits to their strategy, right? Because everything has to fit together like a puzzle. So StartPath does that on one side. Secondly, StartPath is looking at VC. How can we help the fintechs raise capital and in a sustainable way, right? So that is where we come in again through our power of our network. We connect them to the VCs. Then we also have report and data enablement modules that we plug into the fintechs to make their business smooth. It should be data centric so that data then tomorrow can be utilized for portfolio optimizations. Let's say. So let's say if you're a fintech with 1 million customers, you would want to know that what is their behavior, what's the pain point, what is working really well so that you can do more of it. So there's data play, marketing. So StartPath gives you the marketing tools to say, okay, this segment is working well. How about you focus more on this one? And here's the offers that you could track. So there's a whole 360 view that StartPath takes on a fintech, working with them, and based on their own strategic priority, supports them. We even fly some of the fintechs to our digital safari, to San Francisco, to New York, where we put them in front of big tech. We'll take them to a lab in a top university in the US to show what's the latest and the greatest that's coming out, and can they connect the dots of their fintech model with that. So it's a whole exposure that a fintech could get if they want to go the StartPath route.
That's very, very interesting. I think maybe we can explore that probably even after this. And just as you almost just come to a close, you've been in this particular ecosystem for decades, primarily. And there's so much that's been happening over the years. We have seen, where we came from and where exactly it is the new technologies we're experiencing. Crypto is becoming a norm. So many different particular technologies are coming into place. From where you sit, how do you envision the future for fintech?
So fintechs are, and in fact, fintech and telcos and FIs, all of them are going to face this, because it's not the speed at which any of these segments are changing. It's actually the speed with which the customer's expectations are changing at the end of the day, right? So a Gen Alpha, they're going to give us a run for our money, by the way. They're like this. Loyalty is nothing. It's nothing. You have to earn my loyalty.
True.
So if you let the guard down at any given point in time, you will lose that customer, because they flip. For us, like when we first perhaps moved on to a social media platform like Facebook or Twitter, for us it's like, oh well, we have to move to another one.
It's a lot of work.
You got to think through it, because your social network is there. But for them, as a new thing comes out, they tick up like that. I think last time I checked, the downloads for Pokemon Go, I think they'd reached 50 million users in a matter of a few days, 4 or 5 days, something like that. It was crazy. The first phone where we used to pick up the phone and dial it, right? And then it was, it took more than 70 years for that to get to 50 million.
It took a while.
Yeah,
I think it's it.
Imagine that, right? So today, the disruption can happen in days and you wouldn't be caught off guard. So I think when I look at the future, it's a future where you need to be thinking 5 or 10 years ahead of what's coming. Customer behaviors, data, and that's why we say AI, machine learning is critical. We need to adopt and embrace it. Yes, there are fine-tunings that we need to do to that. We work closely with regulators and public policy to make sure we take care of the privacy part. But that data has to be utilized to ensure that the design of our CVP and our user experience is what the customer of the future will like. Right? So I think that is what we are looking at. So we're heavily looking into Gen AI. Our labs globally are working on generative artificial intelligence, whereby we can predict based on where you are in terms of your life cycle and your profile, where we see that you would next be looking for a mortgage and you would be looking for at certain benchmarks in terms of pricing, offer, whatever it is. Similarly, you would be looking for a next payment tool on your phone, tokenized. Okay, you could be looking for an open marketplace. Now that marketplace should give you everything.
Yes.
I want insurance, I should be there. Banking, I should be there. Spending on my merchants or whatever, I should be there. So I think that's the kind of future we're moving towards. So we should be looking at that. Blockchain is going to be another critical one. So the customers of the future want to know, if you're wearing that nice suit, where was that suit manufactured? Was there any child labor involved? Was it coming from a country which certain practices in that country I agree or disagree with? This kind of choice making on the back of blockchain is something that we need to embrace again, because the customer of the future is going to be looking for that trail. So blockchain is not limited to crypto. It has many use cases. So therefore we are driving that agenda and we're working with governments on that.
Wow, interesting. I've really enjoyed this particular conversation. One of the good things, especially to the audience, check out that particular partnership that you have with Carrefour. It's very interesting. At this particular point, you need to save every particular shilling. The partnership with Glovo, the partnership with regards to setting up the QR, it's been quite an incisive conversation. I've really also learned a lot. And I hope actually you as the audience have actually learned a lot and seeing what exactly Mastercard is doing towards some of this particular partnership, and primarily with regards to their particular agenda on digital transformation and sustainable partnership. So thanks so much for having watched the show. And my name is Ian Dennis. As always, this is the Late Night Business, and we're coming to you from the Capital Club, the place to need to be as an entrepreneur, because at the Capital Club, you get access to so many different interesting conversations, such as the one I've just had right now. Until next time, I'll see you right here on the Late Night Business.